get us settled. Deborah is a Fearless Force participant. She participated in our first cohort. She's originally from Australia, as you will see, and she is also the manager of our Fearless Force program, which is our signature program where we work with women all over the world to elevate their voices and stories. So Deborah, I am going to pass it to you. And Lily just wrote, I love Deborah's meditations. So hashtag no big deal, yes.
Lily, and welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. So today's meditation is actually inspired by Brandi, our guest today, and her fearless speech, which I just rewatched a couple of days ago and was re-inspired. So find yourself in whatever comfortable means for you. Maybe exactly where you are, you may want to shift a little bit. And if it's available to you, I invite you to close your eyes. For some people, that's not necessary or actually possible. But if you can just take this moment to have your eyes closed and just to be comfortable and to know that all you have to do at the moment is just listen to me. Just be in this moment, thanking yourself for arriving, taking this time to be in community together. And just taking a nice big deep breath in the nose and let it out and let it all just release. We'll just do that one more time because it feels so good. Just taking the breath in, holding it for a moment at the top, and then fully just letting that go. And now today, using your imagination, your amazing imagination, and through your mind's eye, you now see that as you sit and breathe and listen, you are holding in your hands an archery kit. You have in your hands a bow and an arrow. And beside you, you have extra arrows. And you know that this is your bow, these are your arrows. And you know that you can aim these arrows wherever you choose. Just taking another deep breath in together now and letting it go. And now with your amazing imagination and in your mind's eye, allow to drop in, what is my target today? Am I shooting my arrow towards more self-care, focus, kindness, rest, productivity, connection? Whatever it is that drops in is perfect for you, and that is your target today. See now in the distance your target that you have chosen, either on a wall, on a tree, on a haystack, and it's at the perfect distance and ready. Take now your first arrow and placing it into the bow, drawing the arrow back as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, the arrow leaves the bow and moves directly to your target. You now have 2 more arrows. Same target, same process. You pick up the arrow, you place it into the bow. You take a big deep breath in, and then you let it go and see that arrow hit that target. 1 more arrow, another shot at the target. Line yourself up Take the big, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, the arrow leaves and hits the target. Give yourself another breath of congratulations for hitting your target, the target of your choice. And just wiggling the shoulders a little bit.
I think you froze, Deborah, on the wiggling of the shoulders. Deborah? Okay, I think she's frozen. So let's give Deborah welcome to the world of Zoom. Yeah, welcome back, Deborah. We're gonna do a little elevated sparkleation. We call this elevated sparkleation for Deborah. You froze right at the end. So I don't know what happened. It was brilliant, I am sure, but you were, stuck in the end. We hit the target and then we were left. But we will receive all of that. Thank you so much, Deborah. So welcome everyone to Fearless Chat 9, Elevating Your Digital Presence with Brandi Bernoskie. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Eduardo Placer. I am the CEO and founder of Fearless Communicators. We're a dynamic international public speaking coaching business, and we work with thought leaders on what they say and how they say it. And a little bit about how we landed in this Fearless Chat series. I live in New York City. I am currently in Miami Beach. I was out running our Fearless Force program, which is our signature program that we do all over the world. There are actually some alumna of our program here on this call today, which we're really excited about, including Brandi Bernoskie, #NoBigDeal. And I found myself in San Francisco. They actually postponed our San Francisco program as things started shifting. This was at the beginning of March. Chose to not return to New York City. I was in Boulder for about a week, and now I find myself in Miami Beach, where I've been socially distancing and quarantining for the past, feels like it's week 5. I'm sure we're all in various navigation points of that narrative and story. And found myself that first week in Boulder just really confused and not knowing where to go, what to do, who to turn to, and really found comfort in knowing that one of the privileges of the work that we do with Fearless Communicators is that we know people and work with people who really think about the things that people are thinking about and have questions about right now in this moment. And we started this Fearless Chat series as an immediate response for how we can support our community and our growing community around some thought leadership and questions and real practical tips and tools around the things that are of concern to them in the moment. It is very much in that space that we knew immediately that we wanted to lean on the expertise of Brandi Bernoskie. She's a digital strategist. She is a small business owner. I met her at Soul Camp. We were both counselors at Soul Camp East many, many years ago. And immediately was blown away by the way she thinks about business, not just as a creative, but also as someone who actually builds business, and as someone who has built stunning websites for people like Brene Brown, #NoBigDeal, and Fearless Communicators. Yes, she built our website. Yes. We really wanted to have a conversation of what does it mean, digital presence, our digital storytelling. How can we use what we're sitting on to really connect with the people who we want to connect to in this moment? So with that as a context, I'm really excited to introduce you to Brandi Bernoskie. Yes, Brandi Bernoskie. And if there are any questions that you have, anything top of mind, I'm not interested in this being a conversation with Brandi and myself. What we're really interested in is the conversation is going to be of value to you. So we have framed some questions, a framework with this to have this conversation. practical tips and exercises for you. And if you have questions, if there are things that are top of mind that you really want answers to, by all means, please use the chat function as an opportunity to express that. I will be resourcing from there to help stimulate the conversation with Brandi. So with that, Brandi Bernoskie, queen.
I'm just so excited to be here and see all these lovely faces. It's always a joy. So thank you, Eduardo, for inviting me to be here and be part of this.
So, Brandi, we spent some time, as we were reflecting, right? There was a conversation between digital presence and digital experience, right?
Yes.
I think it's like a framework. And I think that we're all bombarded, like, I don't know, with my phone, like I feel like between Instagram, LinkedIn, Instagram stories, TikTok, the TV, MSNBC, I mean, it's just
all the things,
people's websites, people's emails, Banana Republic, Gap, all the sales that are happening, it's like an onslaught of information, and it's like, I think that most of us on this call are business owners or people who are connecting with audience in various ways. How do we stand out from the noise, and how do we stand out as something other than something that's just something that people are just screaming through?
Yeah, so I think it'll be helpful to have me frame a little bit about how I've previously thought about digital presence and digital experience and how I'm thinking about it even more now.
Love it.
So building websites, digital presence is simply having the website, having the Instagram account. I think of digital experience as how you are creating connections and how you're humanizing the people that you're interacting with and providing guidance to them along the way. Like that really is digital experience. It's the story you tell, it's the message you have, and it's how you're interacting and giving that to people, whatever that may look like. But what's really interesting is the past few weeks, I've started to also think about that on the other side of just like the general digital experience that we're having right now in this world, and how we really need to self-curate in some ways and say, like, what's that experience that we want to have interacting with technology versus taking time for ourselves. We're so, we're all digital, socially distancing right now and home, and it's really easy to find ourselves in this really, really heavy digital experience. And I think it makes it even more important for those of us who are small business owners to think even more about how do we humanize connections, and how do we reach out, and how do we just have a conversation with someone, and really like connect with them at a really heartfelt level, rather than just being part of that noise that's blasted out there in the world right now.
I don't know about anybody else, but my phone tracks my usage, like how like my digital usage. And it's through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, it's like 8 or 9, like normally it's like sometimes like 3 or 4, but it's like, I feel like it's like 30, 40, 50% more than it normally is. And I don't know if just because I'm walking around and it's like, I'm getting my news and I'm whatever it is that's happening. And I guess the thing, Brandi, that I think like is curious to me is, there's it feels like there's so many options, right?
Yeah.
How do you, does anyone feel like please raise your hand if you feel like there's noise, too many options, so much noise, so much, as someone whose expertise, and what I love about when you work with people around their businesses, and specifically the stories that they're telling in their website as their gateway to the world, that it's ultimately and we say, we have this expression all the time in Fearless Communicators about just being a fucking person.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we just want to be a fucking person. Where do you find that, or what is the process where you think people should start thinking about where is it that they want to choose to focus their energy? Because I feel like that there's so many options. Where do we focus our energy?
I think right now we have to think a lot about what's that thing that we can give to the world, whatever that thing is. And those of us who have a lot of knowledge in our brains, we find ourselves maybe wanting to like give all of the knowledge out so quickly. We may want to do like 17 webinars and 30 new things. And that's actually not what our audience needs right now. They need that like one really solid gift that we can give people, and that message that we can just kind of keep reminding people about. I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit more of a minimalist in terms of like my own business, but also what I encourage people to do with other people's, you know, their own businesses too, is that, you know, more is not better. More is sometimes just more, and sometimes more is chaotic. We are living in a time that feels chaotic, and we don't need to add to chaos with more chaos. We need to add to this conversation with clarity. And sometimes that's honing it in and just saying, what's that one thing I can give to the world today? And you know what, for some of us, I know for me right now, like my business is still going pretty steadily. We just did the launch for Brene Brown's new podcast. So I was really hyper focused on that. I said, you know, it's maybe not the thing.
For Brene Brown. Yes.
So it's, you know, it's like, that's a really critical thing that I felt, you know, really aligned with, and that I wanted to make sure the world had, and they could interact with it easily and all of those fun things. But I think it's, you know, really just honing in on what's that one thing. And honestly, for some people, it may not, like I said, it may not be business. It may be like calling your dad every day and making sure that, you know, that loved one in your life who may live by themselves has that daily connection.
So acknowledgement. So Carrie Kirkella
Yes.
says, I love what Brandy's saying. It seems like people are craving real connections now more than ever. She says, I myself haven't been able to make a single post yet, but I'm planning to start finally sharing a bit about my story around dealing with my mental health. She's also a branding photographer and a budding mental health advocate. And I feel like, Carrie, yes, like I feel like now is an amazing opportunity to have a really heartfelt, honest conversation around mental health.
Yeah, I think it's actually really critical right now, because I sort of feel like that's the conversation we're not yet touching upon. But especially as we go weeks and weeks deeper into this, I think everyone needs to talk about what they're doing to take care of themselves. And it's funny because a lot of the people I'm regularly connected with, I've been talking to, and what we're finding is that a lot of us had external sources of self-care. Like I'd go to the gym, I'd go to get a massage, but really locating those inner sources of self-care is absolutely critical, because I can't go to the gym and I can't go get a massage, and I can't do those things that I had been doing that were my self-care. So I really think it's mental health is a brilliant conversation right now.
I've never heard that distinction between internal sources of self-care and external sources of self-care.
I didn't know either until I was stuck at home.
That feels really juicy. Because I'm imagining that most of us on this call are at about very similar timelines in our experience. I know we're located all over the United States and all over the world. And special love to all my New Yorkers that are on this call. Like, I just have so much love for you, and I'm like feeling you all in all the parts of New York City, because we have Queens and Brooklyn and Manhattan all represented here. You know, what happened to me, you know, yesterday morning was the day that, and I wrote about this in the email that I sent out. It was the first day that I looked at a day that I had nothing on the calendar. And all the busyness of the past couple of weeks of like, how can I get into action? How can I solve things? How can I, you know, how am I going to be on top of this? You know, where can I create? Like all of that initial, you know, energy and positivity and creation, and then a week and a half of like applying for loans and the Small Business Association and PPP and all of that stuff. And then now that's gone. And now talk about internal self-care, right? This yesterday was like the wall of the pause that was like, oh, okay. And I think that what's emerging is like, what are instead of like being in activity, like just because you're in activity doesn't mean that there was a difference between activity and productivity, right? Just because you're active doesn't mean that you're being productive, right? And I think that there are ways in which we fill with activity, you know, to not feel whatever it is that we're feeling about this. And this is a space to share however the F you're feeling about it, because, you know, it's scary and messy, and we can be upset and we can be angry, you know, and like we can look for the silver lining, and there is a silver lining, but in this moment, there could be no silver lining. That's totally fine as well. But as far as specific activities that people can take and do in this moment that are productive, right? How do you recommend sourcing through the options?
I mean, part of that is, you know, what we're referring to. So if we're talking about self-care, I'm sure Deborah can speak, you know, beautifully to that. Meditation, singing, dancing. I think it's just discovering those things that, you know, you love to do that make you feel good. Not jumping on all the trends, not making 17,000 loaves of sourdough bread, even though that may be what you want to do. Long-term, probably not the best idea. For business owners, I think right now is a really interesting time to take a moment and breathe and ask yourself what your audience needs most. You know, what tools do you have that you can give them? What thoughts you can have? And I think anyone who is not rethinking their messaging right now is not doing the work. I mean, I think it's a time to say, how have I been talking to people, and how should I be talking to them now? That doesn't mean you've been talking to them wrong in the past or anything like that, but I think we all just have different needs right now, and we need to be served in a different way.
So I think there's some questions that are coming up that I think.
Yes.
So first of all, one of the things that I saw that I want to acknowledge is that, like, there is a lot of conversation around self-care and internal self-care, and there's also guilt.
Yes.
Around that. And I think
and then shame.
And shame, the guilt and the shame around like the ways in which we have to take care of ourselves is something to name, right? And you know, Dominic just wrote something which was that that there's lots of emails, people are in Zoom meetings all day long. He wants to create experiences of connection, community, and reflection. How to draw them in? How do I make sure their time on Zoom with me doesn't feel like a work meeting, even for a few minutes?
Yeah. I think, you know, it's going to start with what's that message that you can really help them hone in on. And I like to spend a lot of time thinking about, like, I know this is going to sound like a really strange thing to say right now, but like, what does success look and feel like right now? It doesn't look like, you know, I mean, I kind of, you know, as Deb was giving us this beautiful meditation, I was also thinking about, you know, targets, and how for a lot of us, we were lined up with the target we wanted to hit. And then it feels like all the targets have suddenly shifted around us, and we don't see the same target in front of us. We may not see any target in front of us right now. So I think it's, you know, what does success look like for your people right now, and really honing in on that and helping them to connect with that idea for themselves.
So Brandi, that's beautiful and distinct, right? Because I think the question we ask is, what does success look like for me? And what you just posed is, what does success look like for my community?
Yes. Or
my ideal client, or the people that I serve, right? And I just want you to take a moment to just reflect on that, right? And if you have a paper, a journal, a way of writing that down, like, instead of like being in the me conversation, right? Which I think sometimes, specific in the context, it can get a little scarce and crazy. Just to take a moment to step out of you and think about the people who you serve, your community, the people who matter to you. What would success look like for them now? And if you feel inspired to share in the chat function you know, your perhaps something quickly about who the people that you serve are and what success would look like for them now. I think that I'd love to see some of those options, some of those things that you guys are generating, creating. I think what's also beautiful is as you read the chats, you may find that that there are people on this call who you're aligned with, right? And a great opportunity for connection. Who knows what other co-creations can emerge in that.
So can I ask a follow-up question there?
What happened?
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
I mean, I think one of the things I love what you're saying, Brandi, is about this idea of being consistent with the message that is in service of your community.
Yes.
One of the things that I'm struggling with is there's so, and I mean, we heard this earlier, that we're all inundated with information, and there's so many, there's the 17 email addresses that some of us have, and then there's our website, and then there's Snapchat, and then there's Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. And what do you suggest to business owners who are saying, how do I, in service of my community, how do I make choices about where do I send those messages and what choices do I make? Because we can be contributing to the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always been funny because when I first started my business, I'd get on the phone with, you know, new clients, and we would start talking about social media, and I would be like, well, what social media do you want to be on? And they're like, I have to be on all the social media. And I think that's just not true. I think it's important right now, be where you find joy. You know, if that's Instagram, be on Instagram. Don't think you have to do it all. Please, actually don't do it all. Like, do what you love, because that is just so much more fun to watch from a consumer perspective, to see people doing what they love and engaging in a way like that's really deep with something. I think we so often are told to be very superficial, like have your Twitter, have your Instagram, get on LinkedIn, and just be with whatever, you know, social media makes you feel good right now. I think you do need to make sure that you are aligned across social media. Like, one of the mistakes I do see people make right now is that they're being on Facebook and there's no message on their website as the fact that they are on Facebook. And, you know, like, I think of like one restaurant near me. I have no idea what's happening with him on his website, but the moment I go to Facebook, I get a better idea. And it would just be nice to have, like, even if you're not there on the website constantly, a momentary, you know, just alignment, like, hey guys, I'm on Facebook doing stuff. I'm cooking on Facebook every day. Like, I'd love to see that. And then I would engage with him on Facebook. I just have an idea of where to go.
Are there companies you would say shouldn't do a website? Is sometimes the answer not to have a website and to do social? If
you have not, well, well, I wouldn't say that there's ever an answer not to do a website at all and just do social. Like, I don't think social is a substitute for a website, but I do think that if you have an idea and you have this great, fantastic thing that you're ready to sell to the world, sell it before you build a website. You know, maybe put it out there to people on social, like, utilize your social networks, but sell it first. And I would encourage people, like, right now in this time too, like, don't feel like if you have a great idea, you have to build a sales page for it, or like a funnel, or any sort of sequence. Like, put it out there, you know, just put it out there to people in an email, put it out on whatever social network you find joy in, whatever it is, and see how people react to it right now.
Allison, who's our heart-centered sales coach of our community as well, just wrote, agree, validate the sale first before you build. And I think that's a mistake too that people do, is I need the website, so they invest all this money in a website. Yeah. They've never validated whether that is something that people actually want. And Brian, to go back to what you just shared, I think that and I think that there's a conversation of, like, I want to speak to everyone, right? And then I just want to speak to the people that I have already. And I think that a narrowed focus, you know, on the people who you are already in relationship with and nurturing that right now feels to me like most aligned. Do you know what I mean? So continuing to lean from the people that you know and the people that they may know and trust, so that it's not like, this is not gaming, Facebook adding, sales funneling thing, which Brandi, we can talk about, which I feel like I think in the space of despair, do you know what I mean? And scarcity and fear around, you know, sales and revenue and what I used to sell, and I have to pivot and I need to do something new, that there are all these snake oil salesmen-y, do you know what I mean? Get rich quick, you know, opportunities. How do you navigate that too, Brandi? Like what is the, because I love this, the small daily action of saying, I'm going to choose Facebook as the way that I'm going to share my message to my community, and I'm just going to be consistent of that. Feels like something manageable to do, as opposed to saying, I'm going to be on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I'm going to launch a new product, I'm going to invest in a new sales funnel cycle, I'm going to drop a lot of money that I don't have on that.
Yeah. Well, here's the bigger problem that I see with kind of going broad instead of going narrow. When you go broad, the only way to know if your broadness is working is by turning people into data points. You turn them into data points, you say, I'm getting the hits to the site, I'm getting the conversions, here's what's happening. I think right now it's really interesting to go narrow and you're saying, you know, it's about just being a fucking person. And it's also remembering that there's a person on the other end of the sequence, the sales, the funnels, whatever it is, the sales conversation there's another human being there. And we have a real opportunity right now to really kind of examine what it looks like to use technology to humanize as opposed to dehumanize. And I'm not against data collection at all. I think it can provide incredible insights, but I think right now it's not about going broad, you know, having like little numbers go up on your email list. I think it's about going really specific and saying like, look, I helped human beings today. And that's a success. And we sometimes feel like we're like only making little ripples in the pond because we only helped a few people. But when you remember that they're going out there and they're taking that with them and they're making little ripples, you get a lot of, you know, those waves add up together, and that creates a really big impact.
I love that, Brandi. And, you know, Brandi, one of the things that we wanted to talk about is what are some mistakes that you see people having? Like, what are the biggest mistakes that you see right now that entrepreneurs and business owners are making in the landscape? So I want to acknowledge the mistakes, and there's some questions that we're going to frame, that we're going to have everybody go through, that I think is going to give them something really tangible and valuable to leave here with. And I love the interaction that's happening on the chat. So please, again, keep sharing there. I just love, you know, the people who are the Foundations for Dating Lives, the dating coach for women over 50. Yes, get it. You know, CEO, coach to CEOs and founders and leadership teams. I know that Dominic works with gay executives, right? So like there are all these spaces where, you know, I think that there are specific people who we know how to serve. And I know that we really want to make connection now. We really want to, like, I feel like the people who are on this call are people who really want to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, some of the biggest mistakes I see are the ones, like, we've already kind of touched upon them. There are things like not guiding people. If I arrive on someone's website or on someone's Instagram feed or wherever, and I don't know what they want me to do, what step I can take, what way to interact, like, it becomes just it's more chaos, and we don't need that right now. So I think we really need to think about, how do we guide people? What does that look like? How can we create very simple steps?
Clear call to action. Have a very clear call to action.
Yeah.
Click here.
Yeah. We don't have to give them everything. That's another big thing I see happen. I get a lot of people in, and they're, you know, when we start talking about navigation menus, they have like 17 things on their navigation menus. People don't need that. I'm telling you, people do not need 17 things. Doesn't mean that you can't have 17 different pages on your site. You just have to think about how you're taking them through it so that they feel like held and guided. Like, we want that right now so much. We just was what's happening, even though none of us know what is happening. Everyone here is an expert in some way, shape, or form. You have some brilliant gem of knowledge to give people something. And I think really guiding people, making sure you're not overwhelming them is just so critical. And then, like I said, the other thing that we've been talking about is going narrow, like really targeting your audience, letting people know that this is for them, because we are being so inundated on Facebook with like 14 bazillion free webinars and this and that and all the other things. I think really saying, I have this offering, I have this thing I can give you, this is for you right now, if this, and just take some of the mental burden off of people to figure it out for themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, we have so much already happening in our brains and so much to sort through, and emotions and feelings that we may not even be feeling fully on a moment to moment basis. So just take that burden off of people and really target them and say, look, this conversation is for you with this, and give that to them.
And the call to action. I just realized I have 99 options and a click ain't one.
Yeah. Love that.
A little shout out. What do you feel about length of emails, of content? Like, do people not have time to read? Is this the time of TLDR, too long, didn't read? Or do you feel like it's a time to really dig in? If people really want to engage with you, they'll engage with you. Or because I feel like sometimes like, oh, it's got to be 2 paragraphs, or it has to be like really short. People don't have attention spans. How do you feel about length of content or anything about that?
I think less oftentimes about length of content than like importance of content. I think if you're saying something that's worth hearing, people, even if they're not ready to hear it in that moment, they may come back to it. So I think more now than ever before, you shouldn't be like overly verbose. Like, drop the axe, drop the things that you think you should be doing and start doing whatever is really in alignment with who you are. That may be an email that's just being like, hey, I'm thinking of everyone who reads these emails regularly, and I just want to know that let you guys know I'm with you. Whatever that may be, just with you. It could be that, and it could be a longer email that says, I got up this morning and the first thing I did was cry in my cereal, and you tell a story. I don't know. I think you have to come from a place that's incredibly truthful and vulnerable and just authentic right now, and just be it just goes back, just be a human being, please. I'm kind of, I have to say, I am secretly hoping that this time is like the death of crappy funnels that, these businesses have put us through. Like, I'm just so sick of it. Like, here, watch my hour-long video if you want to be able to get this thing. I'm like, oh my God, can I just be a human being?
Yes.
Can I be a human being for you? Like,
please.
It's so much more fun that way.
I feel like let's just be human beings together.
Yeah.
So we want to walk people through. So there are these the 3 best things you can do right now to start making shifts, yes. Right? So we're going to move into this part, because again, I think these are going to be really helpful questions and thought processes to get, and we've done a little bit of this work, right? But I think to really break it down, these 3 things I think are going to be really useful to ground us in those daily actions to be productive, as opposed to just being random activity, and how we connect with the people who we want to be connected. So number 1, Brandi, I feel like I'm number 1. It feels like Sesame Street. Number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah.
So the first thing really is getting aligned internally. So that's, that may be the question of like, where do I find joy right now? How do I love, most connecting with people, and how can I increase that way of connecting?
If we pause there, and just have everyone reflect on that question.
Yeah. Can I say a little bit more about that as people are reflecting?
Yeah.
Because this, for me, again, going back to the archery metaphor, this for me is not a thinking about what's the target I'm hitting. It's thinking about your presence how you carry your body, how it feels in your body. Like, what does the breath feel in your body when you're holding the bow? You know, what do the muscles feel like when you start to pull back? It's that sense of being and like internal alignment that will help you hit the target. And I think that's actually like a really phenomenal opportunity that business owners have now, is just saying, what does aligning internally mean? Have I built my business aligned internally? I think, you know, a question of, where is your joy? Have I built my business in alignment with my joy? If not, you know, then now's a really good time to start making shifts for that.
Yeah. I love Mercedes just wrote, tell the story simply and truthfully, be caring. Yeah. Absolutely. So in this space of aligning internally for all of you, if we just take a moment to like reconnect and imagine, and I don't know if we said this, Brandi, but you're an archer. I don't know if that came out, but that's why we had this metaphor to begin with, that
where it came from.
That Brandi actually teaches archery, which is like amazing.
That's how Eduardo and I met. So
she taught archery. #, no big deal. I don't think we mentioned that. Some people are like, why this archery metaphor? She taught archery, and she does archery, which is like unbelievable. So in the space of aligning internally, like what brings you joy, right? The question that you pose that I would love for all of you to think about is, what is the one thing you can give right now? And Brandi, there's a qualifier to this, which is it doesn't have to be a sale, correct?
No, it doesn't
have to lead to a sale.
Doesn't have to be a business thing. I mean, it could be, but.
What is the one thing that you can give right now? I love Allison wrote hope along with sized action tips. That's right. Shanam wrote inspiration. Kristen is spreading positivity, paying it forward. Anita wrote grace, open and active listening from Diane. Susan Mazanson, intention setting. Patty, holding space. Joy and peace. Love that.
Yeah.
For me, it's joy. That's what I'm feeling in this moment. Yeah.
For me, one of the most important things for me to do at night after working is laughter. Laughter, and like bringing laughter to other people too. I'm no comedian by any means, but I feel like right now, like that lightheartedness, and especially because laughter is so in the body, it's just such a fun one to engage with right now for me personally.
And Barbara said movement. Chris said joy. Dominic wrote gay community. Yes. Let the gays be gay. Let's be happy and joyful and celebration. Yes. Brian wrote having people smile. Know we're not alone. Know that we're together. Right? So then once we can identify that that's the one thing that we want to give, what's the next step?
It's really about considering how you're connecting right now. So that goes back to this, what we were saying earlier about not trying to spread yourself too thin and be on all of the networks. Pick one space to be in.
So what I would love all of you who were writing, noticing that there was that one thing that you felt compelled to give, right? Where are you going to connect people to give that? Like, what's the one place that you feel compelled to give that to people on? What platform? What space is that going to be on? And it
can also be a phone call or a letter.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be not a sales funnel, right? What is the one platform or space that you're going to use to engage to give that away? I'm seeing LinkedIn, I'm seeing YouTube, the women's group. I love that. I love the specificity of that. LinkedIn and group conversations, Facebook and Instagram, Zoom and FaceTime. Lisa saying Facebook and Instagram. It's so interesting because what comes up for me is one of the things that I've been doing, which you're all going to be invited to, is every Friday at 5 p.m. I host the Big Gay Virtual Sing-Along. And that came out of just wanting to be in harmony and movement with people. Like, there's no sales pitch, there's no sales funnel. It's like nothing other than creating community around just being a fucking person and singing songs that we know and love. And what's amazing is I've had probably over 300 people all over the world over the course of the past couple of weeks doing that. I did it for a community, for a girlfriend of mine. She had me come in and do it for her international. I mean, there was someone in India, there was someone in Ecuador, her entire family's Canadian, and she was in Australia. So I did that virtually. And now I'm doing it again on Friday at 8 p.m. for her community for children, specifically for the kids, because it was the first time that the kids were not on their iPads. The first time the kids were not on technologies when they were singing and holding up their stuffed animals and singing the Circle of Life. And she's like moving the Paris Symphony for me. She's like, I'm going to move the Paris Symphony for next week. I want to do the gay virtual sing-along with the toddlers on Friday. So who the hell would have known that that was something that was going to happen? Do you know what I mean? But like, again, it's like in that space of just being in action around that, which is an expression of joy and something that I can give, is continuing to broaden the spaces where I get to be in community with people and share with people and meet with people. So Brandi, so the first step we said was, what is the one thing we can give right now? How we can connect with the people, and then what's the third piece of it?
I think right now, more than anything, we need to share our stories and share why we're sharing our stories too. So it's not always, again, this is not about share every moment of your day and your entire story, but this is really like what part of your story needs to be shared right now. What do you need to share? What do people maybe need to hear? And really thinking like, what's the message in your story? And that's one of the things that I've loved about being part of this community and doing the work that I did with you, Eduardo, is, and I swear this is not a sales pitch or anything like that, but it was about like, it was such a joy to watch the women who were in my circle with me, and for me too, to discover the messages in our stories. And I didn't honestly, like, I did not think when we started working together, I was going to arrive with the story and the message that I had, and yet it emerged. So I think that's, the emergence right now is beautiful.
And two of your participants, Stephanie Cruz and Barbara Senrick, are on the call. So two of your ladies of the 6 are on the call with you, which is super. Yes. And I think I think the thing about it, I think emergence is a really beautiful word. And I mean, the beauty is that we're storytellers. So what we do is the storytelling piece of it. And I think that there is a story that you have that you may have been sharing, and it's not the story that there is to share now.
No.
So I think there's a great opportunity to look at what is the narrative that you have about your business, and maybe the why of your business has shifted in this context. Like there was a why that I had prior to this COVID context, but I think there's a reason why I'm still in it, and there's a reason why I'm still fighting, right? There's a reason why I'm still here in the way that I'm choosing to serve. And I'm sure for all of us who want to continue to be of service in the way of service, I think there may be a more relevant, present moment to share why it is that the work that you do really matters and why you're committed to serving in the way that you're serving. So I think that it is the time for the emergence of perhaps a deeper story or a truer story that is in alignment to now, this moment.
And I will say that the reason why you do what you do will always help you stand out in the market. Like, again, it comes back to like, we need that truth and that honesty and that transparency.
And I want to single out, so Dominic, you know, and I pointed to him before, right? He does executive coaching for group men, but one of his, you know, his big commitments is about how do gay men create community outside of the bars and, you know, all of that culture. And like, I know that as a gay man, as a single gay man, right, who is socially distancing and quarantining, right? I think there's a deeper reason now as to why that's important. How do we create community when we don't have all the spaces? And not to mention this at the time when people are, they may be in homes, they may be back in homes where homophobia is present, you know, where they have to cover or shift, you know. So I think that there's a beautiful opportunity to engage and deepen why now this is important. I think you unmuted.
Just share something on that. Brandi, when you were saying what part of your story do you need to tell now for this context, I started thinking of, you know, my drive to create new kinds of community that are more substantive even than, you know, chat on Grindr, you know, a socially proximate, you know, app or whatever. And the blog, and I have a list of 600 people who are many of them straight folks and women and all kinds of folks. And I thought of writing the story with a headline, "Do you miss gay bars?" You know, like we actually all are missing bars right now.
Yeah.
Those of us who enjoy something about bars, but like the demise of the gay bar because of Grindr is sort of a reality in gay men's life. And like, well, we want to connect, we want to meet people, we want to be with people. So if in my, you know, sort of community, flourishing gays community hours on Zoom, I'm kind of creating something about what we really most want from that. To your point, it really is a time to tell that part of the story in a different way.
Dominic, I think that's so rich. And my request is for all of you on this call to think about, like, what is the story that is relevant now? Like, what is the truth of what it is that I'm feeling? And many of us are here because we're dealing, like we're solving our own problem. You know, like I'm a public speaking coach who has fear of my own story and telling the truth. And I'm terrified that everyone's going to think that I'm gay. You know, hey, here we are, right? If you think I'm gay, I am, yay, right? But there's a reason why telling the truth, which is really my commitment now, is so important. Right? Like, why does telling the truth, why is this truth of your story? Why is the truth about who you are and work? Why does that matter now? And I think it really cuts through the noise. And I think that's the opportunity. And I think that I'm really excited, you know, and my request is for all of you, you know, to share with me and to share with Brandi, please. You know, Brandi, your email, I'm going to post here so they can get a hold of you.
You can totally email me. I love talking to people, and really, I do what I do because I love helping and supporting people. So,
which she
please
does,
reach out.
And she's unbelievably generous. I would say Brandi is unbelievably generous. So, so Brandi, what is your Brandi at Alchemy name?
Yes, put that one, please.
And is there an ampersand or just and?
It's the word and.
Okay, so it's Brandi at alchemyandaim.com. So that's her email address. So it's in the chat, so you can reach out to her. She does unbelievably beautiful work. It is so thorough, and it's all heart-centered. It is all about being a person. It was such a joy to partner with her on the building of our Fearless Communicators website. I'm actually working with her and in partnership with Soul Camp Creative on my personal brand website. So that's also something that's emerging. So anyway, so that's a huge, so that's a great way to connect to her. And my email, for those of you who don't have it, is Eduardo at fearlesscommunicators.com. And I'm very curious about what is the truth of the stories that you're looking to tell. Like that, to me, I'm just really curious. And if you want any pointers or anything, please shoot me an email. You know, would love to let you know what I hear, you know, in that space, like what really connects with the heartstrings. Because I think that's the gauge. Like, and I think the thing about the truth is you feel the truth. Like when the truth lands, you're like, oop, that's it. I'm feeling that. And I think that speaking through the truth is what cuts through the noise, because there's so much fucking bullshit. There's so much BS. There's so much noise. And I think it's in that feeling, in the alignment. I think we're going back to aligning yourself, like getting connected to that, speaking the truth, choosing the platform. How am I going to connect? And then speak the truth. Use that platform to communicate the truth. And I think do so consistently, like take that action consistently to continue to know that the people who you know and who know you consistently see you in that conversation, I think builds trust. And I think that that's a relationship that can continue to generate connection, and they could become clients further down the line. They could be referral partners. They could be collaborators, who knows, right? But I think it is in that space of not being attached to what that is, but what develops and blossoms, you start building a really fertile garden of connection and creation. With that, what I would love is, as we're wrapping up, if people can use the chat function to share their key takeaway. You know, what is a key takeaway that they're taking from this conversation? What is something that they're gathering that is going to be super valuable for them? And my invitation to you is, if you choose, we are going to invite you to text the following number, 66866. So the number is 66866. And if you type in the word fearless now, like this, so fearless now, we have a free gift for you, which is 10 simple backstage tips to go from a speaker to a star. But more importantly, it's about getting in your fucking body and like showing up to speak the truth. So like, this is a great primer. You know, it's this very simple step to just like, one, connect to your breath, connect to your body, connect to why you're speaking, and then getting out of the way to just be a person to speak to the people who you're committed to speaking to. So that is our gift to you. I wanted to share that this is part of a series. So there's a 3-part series that we have called Your Digital Advantage. So Brandi Bernoskie is our first speaker. Jacqueline Romano, who is here waving, yes, is our third speaker. She's a videographer. She's the co-founder and editor of Blindfold Magazine. She's an extraordinary, creative mind, and has over 10 years in the digital landscape space. It is 66866 is the number, 66866. So what I wanted to share, Deborah, can you just make sure that that's being managed on the chat for a second? The woman who was scheduled to speak on Thursday, her father-in-law tragically passed from COVID-19. Her name is Danielle Christine Toussaint. We will be featuring her further on. We will have someone speaking on the topic of up-leveling your digital advantage on Thursday. We're going to be pulling from amazing resources of people that we have in our community. I will share that. Some of you have already optioned into that. And I will share with you in an email later today who that person is going to be. I guarantee you that it's going to be someone extraordinary, you know, who's going to speak to the stuff that we're speaking about here. So I just wanted to share that there's been that minor shift, and just like a moment of reflection and honoring Danielle and her family, you know, as they're enduring this loss. It was the patriarch of her husband's family, and just sending her prayers and love as they are going through this transition. And she will be joining us in May to continue this conversation. So thank you so much for being on here. Stephanie Cruz just wrote that she had 5 pages worth of notes, which is really awesome. You know, our commitment is that this be of immense value to you. If there are topics that you are really top of mind and curious to you, please let us know. Shoot me an email and let us know what are the things that are really exciting to you. What are the things that you're really curious about, so that we can help to curate these conversations. It is an absolute joy to be here. Brandi Bernoskie, thank you so much for being on this call with us.
Thank you, Eduardo.
To you, Brandi.
I'm elevating, sparkulating everyone here.
Yeah,
these are awesome.
Elevating, sparkulating is also really useful to move the self chakras and all the namaste and all the feng shui that we need internally and externally in this moment. And always remember to fear less, speak free, and love more. Thank you so much for being here on this call with us, and we will see you on Thursday. Bye.